Hey guys, and welcome! Today I want to show you some details on the new Battlefield 2042 map Exposure that you might have missed so far, but this video is not so much about decoration or environmental details, but about actual gameplay details that can be very helpful during a match. So let's start at the buildings that would be Objective A1 in Conquest or Objective C, so the last sector in Breakthrough. And especially in Breakthrough, this can be very helpful, because behind the building where the actual objective is located, there are these road blockers, steel poles coming up from the ground. And by default they are lowered and the road is free, but you can take control of them and then the poles will rise and the rings on top of them will turn blue. Then the poles will block the road for all enemy vehicles, but will lower for your team's vehicles so they can pass through. And especially when you play as Defender in Breakthrough, there will always be enemies with vehicles trying to get behind the objective so they can place their spawn beacons, attack you from behind, and also cut off incoming reinforcements from the Defender's spawn. But if you take control of these poles and close the road, you can easily avoid this. The control panel for the poles is located right next to it, but on the higher level behind the fence. So when you are one of the first ones on the objective, be sure to close that road. When you play on Conquest, there's also another set of poles that you can use to close the road completely for vehicles coming up from the lake. The poles can be found next to the watchtower and the control panel is inside the watchtower, so you need to get up there to use it unless you play as Rao, then you can take control of it from distance. On Breakthrough, it's not necessary to block this part of the road since the map ends over there anyhow, but for Conquest it can make it at least a little harder for the enemy to get to your captured objective and take it. And the same kind of road blockers can also be found on the other side of the map in Conquest, between the Russian spawn and Objective F2. They are also next to the watchtower and the control panel is up in the tower again. These poles are not very useful to block the objective from incoming Americans, but they will instead block the road from vehicles coming from the Russian spawn. So be sure to use these road blockers where they are available, because they can help a lot to get control over a specific area. And that's the same for the red steel doors that you can find in almost all buildings across the map. And I know these are not new and they are available on almost all other maps, but still so many players just don't use them, especially on Breakthrough. Because once you took control of these doors, they will only open for your teammates and will block the doors for enemies. And if they want to open them, they have to hold the interact button to force open them, and that takes a while. So it's a great way to keep the enemy outside of an objective, at least for a while. And especially in Breakthrough, this can make a huge difference. So when you play as Defender on Exposure and you are at the last sector, be sure to close all of the doors in the building and also take control of the road blockers I mentioned before. This way you fortify your position and it can help your team a lot to hold the defenses successfully. But when you are the attacker in Breakthrough, there are also a few advantages you can use on the map, and one of them, or actually two, are the elevators you can find in the western and the eastern part. And especially in the first sector of Breakthrough, they are very helpful, because as attacker you have access to the western elevator that is located between your spawn and the first objective, and when using it, you can get down to the tunnel in the lower part of the map. From there you can get to the back of the sector behind the objective and can get up with a zipline to attack the enemies from behind. Just make sure to take a spawn beacon with you and place it somewhere around the low end of the zipline, so when you die you can quickly respawn and you don't have to go all the way through the elevator and tunnels again. Plus, it helps your squad to get there faster as well. In the games I played in Breakthrough so far, and that were a lot, I only saw a few players use this path while most try to attack directly. But from my experience, it can be very efficient to attack from both sides, especially at the beginning of the round when most defenders tend to stand at the fence or around the watchtower and there's only a few snipers in the back of the sector. The second elevator, which is the eastern one, will then be accessible in the third sector of Breakthrough, but this one is used a lot and most defenders are also aware of this, so they usually await the attackers with a lot of firepower. And since it can't be used with a tank in Breakthrough, I cannot really recommend to use the eastern elevator here. In Conquest that's different. Here both elevators can be used with vehicles, which makes them even more useful, since the eastern elevator connects sector A and B and the western elevator helps you to get down from sector F to sector D. And while you have to press a button to use the elevator as infantry, you won't have to do this when you are inside a vehicle. You only have to drive into it and then the elevator will close and start automatically. Another gadget that is very helpful and it can be used in Conquest and Breakthrough is the spotting sensor located at that panorama office in the mountainside. You can find them close to Objective B in Breakthrough, which is C1 in Conquest, and it looks like the sensors you walk through on an airport. There are 4 of them available and they all are connected to only one control panel. When you take control of the sensors, the lights will turn blue and every enemy who walks through them will be highlighted for a short moment and also spotted as red dot on the minimap for all of your teammates. So this is a great advantage. On Orbital, you can find the same sensors and they all work in the same way, so whenever you see them, no matter if it is on Exposure or any other map, be sure to activate them. If the frames of the sensors are red, the enemy team already took control of them and you need to switch the panel to your team. If you play as Rao, you can also do this from distance, just like you can do with the red doors or the road blockers. And at the end, 2 spots that are very useful for spawn beacons or simply to hide from enemies and wait for your squad mates to join in. And the first one is up on the big blue pipe in the tunnel. At the parts where the pipe is still attached to the tunnel's ceiling, you can't get up, but at both endings of the tunnel, the pipe hangs down a bit, so when you play as Mackie, you can use your grappling hook to get up there. This is not only a perfect spot for a spawn beacon, but you also have a perfect view to the other side of the tunnel and its entrance, especially when you defend objective B1 in Breakthrough. But of course, I'm not saying you should stay up there with a sniper and annoy the enemy team, I'm just saying it's possible. When you are an attacker, on the other hand, and you get sniped from up there, take a closer look at the ends of the pipe. The sniper will surely be somewhere up there. And another perfect spot for a spawn beacon, or also to be safe for a moment, is below the aforementioned panorama office, which is objective B2 in Breakthrough or C1 in Conquest. There is this little spot right next to the zipline where you can place a spawn beacon. Down there it's not only very close to the objective, but also relatively safe from the bullets and explosives, cause since the last update, Sundance's anti-armor grenades will also lock on to the spawn beacon, which makes it an easy target if it's placed in the open. So spots like this are very useful to give it a bit of shelter. What you can also do is place your beacon at the side of the mountain, cause there are always parts that stick out a bit so you can stand on them. These are relatively safe as well and much better than the top of the objectives, but still very close to them. And at the end of the battle, when you feel like you want to take a short break and relax a bit, you can get down to the lake behind objective A2 in Conquest and enjoy the beautiful nature. It's actually a bit sad that they located this beautiful part of the map so far away from the actual battle, but you can at least see it when you're driving over from Sector F to A and take the lower road along the lake. And I gotta be honest, this is definitely the most beautiful map in Battlefield 2042. And that's it for today, just a little overview of how you can use different things on the map to your and your team's advantage. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumb up and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for more content like this. Until then, thanks for watching, I'm the Catwoman and you are awesome!